I tried to beat Renegade Platinum as a hardcore Nuzlocke using only starter Pokemon, and with such a limited number of encounters, every single battle in Drayano's advanced difficulty Romhack needs to be meticulously planned, because if a Pokemon faints in battle, it's dead forever. The rest of the rules for my playthrough are shown here, but with so much ground to cover, let's get right into it by choosing my starter Pokemon, or my starter if you will. It doesn't really matter which one of the 3 Sinnoh starters I pick here, since in Renegade Platinum, Professor Rowan gives you the other 2 at his lab. But I go with Diddy the Chimchar so that my rival Chris will have Piplup for the various multi-battles throughout the playthrough. And then we do indeed pick up Luigi the Turtwig and Bowser Jr. the Piplup. From here, I head home to snag an Eevee, which technically is a starter Pokemon in the Let's Go and Coliseum games. So, loophole! Much less debatable are the Kanto starters, which I can snag from the Jubilife City Pokemon Center after defeating them in battle. So, we have a full team of 6 and then some as we head into the first rival fight of the game. Now, for those of you who have never played Renegade Platinum before, one of its hallmarks is that you get a lot of really great resources to better handle the game's increased difficulty levels. For example, all TMs are effectively reusable, and you get many of them quite early in the game, which here allows Daisy the Charmander to nail Chris's lead Starly with a super effective Rock Tomb. You also get some pretty useful items throughout the playthrough, and most Pokemon, including all of the starters, have gotten some pretty significant buffs. Taking advantage of the game's various tools will be essential to making it to the Hall of Fame. Like most ROM hacks, Renegade Platinum is very long and chock full of scary mandatory boss battles, so keeping every single one of my Pokemon alive is excruciatingly important if I want to beat this game in one attempt. So keeping every single one of my Pokemon alive is excruciatingly important if I want to beat this game in 2 attempts. I guess it's gonna be that kind of playthrough. That was a good early reminder that I have to take pretty much every single fight extremely seriously. In attempt 2, after Daisy takes care of the Starly, I have Bowser Jr. lower Piplup's attack with Growl. Then I get Petey the Bulbasaur to hit him with Leech Seed. This now allows Luigi to comfortably set up a few curses before getting the KO. Luigi has Shell Armor to prevent critical hits, making him an incredible setup mon with the proper support. It's a strategy that we'll return to consistently throughout this playthrough to reliably play around potential critical hits. Despite Munchlax threatening with some Hail Mary metronomes, Luigi is able to clutch out the win, clearing the first of Renegade Platinum's many potential run-enders. In Orberg City, I can snag the 3 Hoenn starters, increasing my roster to the double digits. And thanks to a generous first gym level cap of 16, every single one of them manages to evolve. Except Luigi. Late bloomer, that one. Oh, and Peach the Eevee is also still an innocent, though just like time turns flame to embers, he won't stay that way forever. Regardless, with a healthy blend of middle stage water and grass types, the battle against Roark and his rock types shouldn't be too terrible. He leads with Nose Pass, and I lead with Diddy the Monferno. With Taunt, he's able to shut down Nose Pass's various shenanigans, including but not limited to spreading paralysis with Thunder Wave. This forces him into using Shockwave, which does next to nothing to Petey, allowing him to comfortably take the kill with a few magical leaves. As is custom in my playthroughs of difficult ROM hacks, my Pokemon have been edged to gain a level mid-battle, but that ultimately doesn't make much of a difference against Geodude, who easily falls to another magical leaf. So too does Cranidos. Onix outspeeds to get off a pesky Bulldoze before going down, so since we no longer outspeed our enemies, I switch to Luigi as Larvitar comes in next. This could get a bit out of hand since we were hit by a Bulldoze on the switch, and now Larvitar has a Guts boost from his held Flame Orb. But Roark goes for the big brain play of attempting a double protect, which doesn't work, letting Luigi take the kill with a Bullet Seed. So all that's left is Bonsly, who is literally a crybaby and can't do really anything to Luigi. Not that we even give him the chance, because Luigi pulls out 5 hits from Bullet Seed for a technical 1-hit KO, winning us the very first gym badge in spectacular fashion. That means that Luigi can evolve into his awkward teenage self, and we can go to Floroma Town to get the final trio of starters, Yoshi the Chikorita, Goomba the Cyndaquil, and Toad the Totodile. The next major fight is against Mars and her fat cat, which has the potential to be really scary since I don't have a normal type resist. But fortunately, I can swing things in my favor just a bit by coveting leftovers from Munchlax and the Honey Tree outside of Valley Windworks, so that'll give all my Pokemon a bit more bulk. Against Mars's lead Zubat, Daisy goes for the KO with Rock Tomb, though it comes up just a bit short. Toxic ends up missing though, so on the following turn, we take the kill with a Dragon Rage. Yanma is second and lands a soft Air Cutter before falling to another Rock Tomb. Bronzor falls to a combination of Dragon Rage from Daisy and a few Water Pulses from King Boo the Marshtomp. So we've got the rest of my team to figure out how to deal with this fearsome feline. I start with a switch to Toad the Croconaw, who has the ability Intimidate to lower Perugli's attack. Then it's off to Bowser the War Turtle, the only female in our batch of starters. After tanking a soft hit, I switch back to Toad for a second Intimidate, and I think you can see where this is going. I can repeat this cycle to lower Perugli's attack a few more times, so long as I watch out for crits.
Did someone say watch?
Who's talking?
Great question, little boy.
I'm 28.
I'm your Spawn Conscience, here to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Holzkern.
Oh, Holzkern, the Austrian accessories company that specializes in unique products made from wood and other natural materials.
That's the one, little boy.
Again, I'm 28. Also, I do need to finish this battle here.
Sure. We can multitask. I know you kids and your short attention spans.
I literally pay taxes.
Holzkern started by selling watches, hence my brilliant segue.
Yeah, I got it.
Holzkern's catalog features hundreds of different designs, so you'll be able to find the perfect gift for anyone in your life. Maybe you can get your fiance something nice.
Yeah, I actually got her the Talamanca, a beautiful watch made of nacre and gold. Hold on, you know I'm engaged? I thought you said I was a little boy.
I see you got yourself something nice too. Don't think I didn't notice your Antoninus watch made from slick leadwood and marble.
Yeah, I do love the way that the wooden straps feel on my wrist. Wait, you can see me?
Your Spawn Conscience sees everything, little boy, which is why I can see that Holzkern also makes jewelry, sunglasses, and even wooden handbags. I got my fiance the composition necklace, and she loves it.
Hey, that's my fiance. What's even going on here?
It looks like the conceit of this ad segment is starting to fall apart at the seams, little boy.
Okay, I think it's fine. I'll just put some footage of Poppy here, and people won't notice that none of this makes any sense. But what does make sense is giving the gift of a one-of-a-kind Holzkern product this holiday season. Because Holzkern has free express shipping to anywhere in the world, guaranteed Christmas delivery of all orders placed up until December 20th, and ensures free and easy returns until mid-January. So if you're interested in checking out everything Holzkern has to offer, you can use my link in the description down below and my personal code FLAGON15 to get 15% off store-wide. Thanks so much to Holzkern for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. It's not too long before we've made it to Eterna City, where the second gym leader Gardenia awaits. Her grass types are all pretty strong when compared to my dopey middle stage goobers, and her Roserade hits so hard and has so much coverage that my only hope of winning this battle is to be able to outspeed her. Even with the new encounter tables, Route 201 is still a fairly lucrative place to get speed EVs, so with some careful XP management, we can satisfy my Pokemon's need for speed. Gardenia leads with Blossom, and once again, I lead with Diddy. After a fake out for free chip, I go for a taunt to prevent Blossom's Stun Spore and Teeter Dance. Then I set up a Stealth Rock as Blossom hits a fairly powerful neutral Dazzling Gleam. But now we're good to switch to Goomba the Quilava. Dre decided to make the Cyndaquil line one of the most powerful Pokemon in the game by giving them adaptability, which doubles the power of moves of the same type as the user. So Goomba's fire type attacks burn with the white-hot intensity of 1,000 suns. Though with his special attack IV of literally 0, Lava Plume just isn't enough for the KO here. Without a crit. Nice. Though Dazzling Gleam was doing so little that it ultimately doesn't really matter. Tangela and Grottle both go down to a single Lava Plume apiece. Cherim is holding a Focus Sash, so that's where the Stealth Rocks come in, letting Goomba snag another clean KO. Fifth then is Roserade, but our speedy dog weasel badger thing is able to switch to Flame Wheel to abuse our masked enemy's weak physical defense and get his 5th KO of the match. All that's left is Breloom, but since Mach Punch can crit kill here, Goomba doesn't get to finish his sweep. Instead, it's Petey who comes in to take the priority hit and then counter with a super effective Sludge, winning us Gym Badge number 2. With the new level cap, I decide to finally evolve Peach into an Umbreon. Not exactly the most inspired evolution choice for a hardcore Nuzlocke, I know, but he'll be extremely important for the next gym battle, which is one of the hardest fights in the game. Before that is a slew of challenging mini-boss battles, starting with our first showdown against Jupiter. Like her fiery counterpart, she leads with her Bat, who this time just gets nuked by a lava plume. It's not enough for a KO, but it does get the burn, significantly blunting her follow-up wing attack. After she goes down, Skuntank comes out right away. So enter Peach. Poison Jab still manages to do a crap load of damage on the switch. Peach eats another and then sets up a Wish, but since we've now taken over 50%, a crit here would be pretty devastating. Unfortunately, I don't have any other options. Thankfully, Skuntank simply goes for Torment, meaning that Peach takes to the tunnels and gets back to full HP from the Wish before resurfacing for a solid chunk of damage. Skuntank goes for Focus Energy as Peach uses Baton Pass to get a clean switch to King Boo. He's bulky enough to survive one critical hit from Night Slash, letting him retaliate with a powerful Bulldoze for the KO. That just leaves Tangela, who's one-shot by Goomba, and Sableye, who's walled by Peach. So a few turns later, Jupiter has been defeated, but I don't love having to dodge the Poison Jab crits on Peach. I'm gonna need cleaner plays if I want to keep this run alive. For the sake of time, I won't be able to cover every single mini-boss battle in this game, so fights against the likes of Mira and Dawn have to be tossed to the side. However, the fight against Aaron prior to arriving in Hearthome City is a notorious early game run ender, though I think that that's at least partially because it comes out of nowhere if you aren't expecting it. With prep and the right encounters, it's fairly straightforward to set up on his lead Dustox, who loves to use Protect, especially since you get the TM for Swords Dance literally right before this fight. By setting up Stealth Rock with Diddy and then switching to Birdo the Combuskin, we can sweep his entire team. 2 Swords Dances are enough for Fire Punch to one-shot all of his bugs, and for Dig to one-shot his Drapion after Stealth Rock chip, with our Speed Boost ability giving my usually lethargic Poultry the speed needed to make this a guaranteed win. Get clucked, Aaron. That means it's time to face down against Fantina for the 3rd gym badge. Her team of ghost types are challenging for a litany of reasons. Most Pokemon aren't fully evolved at this level cap, some of the most powerful items in the game are still inaccessible, and her ace Mismagius is Ghost Fairy type in Renegade Platinum, making her both extremely powerful and frustratingly difficult to KO. But fortunately, we have the 2 necessary ingredients to execute the DRXX patented insta-win against Fantina. If you don't know who Drew is, go check him out. He's a phenomenal Nuzlocker and content creator, and I'm lucky to call him a friend. Anyways, throughout Drew's various hardcore Nuzlocks of this game, he discovered that by leading with a male Umbreon against Fantina's lead Drifblim, you can reliably use Captivate to lower Drifblim's special attack stat faster than she can increase it with Calm Mind. Eventually, Drifblim will allegedly always use Baton Pass to bring in Mismagius. Though Baton Pass does grant Mismagius all the special defense boosts from Calm Mind, it also grants her the special attack drops from Captivate. So this means that I can safely switch into, you guessed it, Luigi, who has evolved into Torterra and is able to quite comfortably eat some weak attacks as he sets up with Swords Dance and Rock Polish. And from there, Luigi does what he does best. He busts some ghosts. With a combination of Seed Bomb and Earthquake, everyone's favorite little brother lays waste to all of Fantina's undead Pokemon, meaning that the 3rd gym badge is ours. Before continuing on to Veilstone City, we need to take a detour to flush out Team Galactic from the Pokemon Mansion, which culminates in a multi-battle with my rival Chris against Commander Saturn and Mr. Backlot, of all people. Every multi-battle in this game is a nightmare because it's kind of a toss-up as to whether your partner will be extremely useful, complete dead weight, or somewhere in the middle. Saturn and Backlot lead with Bronzong and Wigglytuff. I lead with Yoshi the Meganium, and Chris leads with Staravia. I decide to target down Backlot's side by nailing Wigglytuff with a strong energy ball. Then Staravia sets up a double team, and Wigglytuff immediately kills him with a Thunderbolt. 3 times playing this game, I have never not seen Staravia instantly die to a Thunderbolt. But that's fine because after Bronzong goes for a soft-ish Gyro Ball, which is super effective since Meganium is part Fairy type in this game, Chris brings in the much more useful Snorlax, aka Kinglax, the hero of my first winning playthrough of Renegade Platinum. I go for a Synthesis to get back to full HP as Wiggly misses a Sing. Bronzong goes for another Gyro Ball, and Snorlax just kind of sets up an Amnesia. A second Energy Ball brings Wiggly into the red before she strikes back with a Moonblast. We're absolutely in range to a critical hit Gyro Ball now, but as Snorlax finishes off Wigglytuff, Bronzong opts for Hypnosis instead. So Yoshi lives the turn as his Lumberry wakes him up. It was a little scary, but now that Raichu comes in, I switch to PD on the double up of Fake Out and Gyro Ball. Snorlax annoyingly just goes for another Amnesia instead of body slamming Raichu into next week, so I switch to Peach as Raichu goes for Teeter Dance. Everyone on the field gets confused except for Peach, who has his own Lumberry. Bronzong hits himself in confusion, but Snorlax breaks through to land a Yawn on Raichu. On the next turn, Thunderbolt hits Peach for some soft damage before he goes for a Wish. Bronzong hurts himself in confusion again, and Snorlax breaks through to set up a third Amnesia. But let's let the king cook. With Raichu now asleep, we can nail him with a Crunch as Snorlax breaks through confusion for a third time, bringing the rat into the red with a Body Slam. Oh, and then Bronzong hits himself in confusion for a third time as well. Good stuff. I try to Sucker Punch Raichu here, but it fails because this psychopath wakes up and goes for another Teeter Dance. Snorlax finally hits himself in confusion, and Bronzong finally breaks through to land a pretty strong Zen Headbutt. On the following turn, Peach hits himself in confusion. Raichu uses an extremely random Teeter Dance to no effect because everybody's already confused, and then Lax actually snaps out of confusion to finally KO Raichu with a Rock Slide before taking yet another Zen Headbutt from Bronzong. But now Backlot is down to his final Pokemon, Espeon, so we're very close to making this a 2v1. Espeon protects, meaning our Crunch is useless as Bronzong puts King Lax into the red with a third Zen Headbutt. Espeon then goes for a Dazzling Gleam, which crits to kill Snorlax, but we're able to nail him with a Crunch for solid damage. Since Bronzong just went for Zen Headbutt, Peach remains at pretty full HP as Heracross comes in next. Our priority Sucker Punch kills Espeon as a Bug Bite does just a smidge to Bronzong. Hypnosis graciously misses, so on the following turn, Heracross goes for Knockoff as I take the chance to set up a Wish before tanking a Gyro Ball. Then I switch to PD, hopeful that Heracross can finish off Bronzong. He doesn't, but Zen Headbutt isn't enough for a one-shot in return either. So after our Wish brings PD back to full HP, Magical Leaf plus Bug Bite finally knocks out Bronzong, bringing in Octillery, who also falls to the double up. So last is Toxicroak. I switch to Luigi, Heracross hits a soft Aerial Ace, and then Toxicroak kills our buggy compatriot with a Poison Jab. So Chris brings out his Prinplup, who gets targeted by a Poison Jab from Toxicroak. But then Luigi fires off an indiscriminate Earthquake that cleanly kills Toxicroak and Prinplup. But the ends justify the means because we've won the fight against Saturn and Backlot completely deathless. Took an entire page of script, but we did do it. And as a reward for our victory, we can plunder Backlot's trophy garden and catch Mario the Pikachu. With our 14th and final starter added to the team, let me know in the comments who your favorite starter is. And while you're there, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out a lot and lets me know that you guys want to see more Romhack challenges in the future. Anyways, with a Thunderstone, we can immediately evolve our blue-collar tradeswoman into a Raichu. Yes, I know that starter Pikachus technically can't evolve into Raichu, but have you seen the base stats of those juiced up little rats? I'm not gonna use a regular f***ing Pikachu in a Renegade Platinum hardcore Nuzlocke, okay? I'm just not. Mario isn't the only one evolving, as the level cap means we can now evolve all of my Pokemon into their final forms, each with some form of Romhack buff. For example, Charizard is a Fire Dragon type in this game, Blastoise gets the ability Drizzle, and Empoleon only gets 5 more special attack, but finally having a Steel type will be really incredible. And then there's Waluigi the Sceptile, who becomes a Grass Dragon type, which means that now he might maybe someday get some screen time. Maybe. His papier-mâché defenses makes it really hard to bring him in safely, but now that we've made it to Veilstone City, we can get a range of useful held items from the game corner, including Focus Sashes. It's a huge day for Sceptile fans. And just in general, Focus Sashes let me switch in Pokemon a little more aggressively without having to be worried about getting killed by a critical hit. Regardless, Waluigi is still keeping the bench nice and warm as we head into the fight against the 4th gym leader Maylene. Her Pokemon are terrifying, especially with our limited number of fighting type resists. But the good news is that fairy types are cracked. After eating a Fake Out, Yoshi can outspeed and one-shot Maylene's lead Medicham with an Expert Belt boosted Draining Kiss. At level 40, he learns Moonblast, but that's not helping against the poison type Toxicroak, so for now, it's off to King Boo. With leftovers and protect by level up, he doesn't have to take much damage before getting the KO with an Earthquake. Third then is Machamp, so it's back to Yoshi on a resisted payday. Machamp's Toxic Orb activates, but it doesn't matter because Yoshi resists all of his attacks, meaning that it's safe to go for a Draining Kiss before Machamp retaliates with a close combat. You might be wondering why I didn't just take the KO with Moonblast here, but it's because bringing Machamp into the red baits Maylene to use her Hyper Potion, and thanks to the special defense drop from close combat, a second Draining Kiss is now a clean one-shot, which brings Yoshi back to full HP. So fourth is Infernape, which means that it's time for a monkey showdown. Look, it's the Spider-Man meme. Hey, Future Flagon, put an image of the Spider-Man meme, but with Infernape's faces on both of the Spider-Men. Yeah, that's comedy gold. Fake Out does a sizable chunk of chip to Infernape and causes a flinch. And here's where things get a little wonky because Diddy can absolutely get the KO with close combat, but a quick calc tells me that Infernape has a chance to kill us if he crits with a priority Mach Punch. So I switch to Yoshi on a resisted close combat, which ironically ends up critting. This means that I can switch to Toad on a Fire Punch and take the KO with our own priority Aqua Jet, but that was really sloppy. Fire Punch could have burned Toad, and since he's part Dark type in this game, a critical hit Mach Punch would have killed us there anyways. So with hindsight, I should have just gone for the kill with Diddy. But regardless, Lucario is 5th, so I first switch to Luigi on an Aura Sphere. With leftovers and shell armor, he's guaranteed to just barely survive 2 hits, meaning that he can fire off an Earthquake to bring Lucasario down to his sash. Then I switch to Goomba as Maylene heals, and with his Focus Sash used up, a Lava Plume takes the clean KO. All that's left then is Gallade, but since we have a Focus Sash of our own, it's safe to take him out with 2 Flamethrowers as he just sets up a light screen. That's 4 badges down and 4 to go. And it's a quick turnaround to get to Pastoria City for the fight against Crasher Wake. This fight has permanent rain set up from the jump, so it's going to take some finessing to get around that particular wrinkle. Wake leads with Quagsire, and I lead with Toad to instantly lower his attack with Intimidate. Then I switch to Peach on a nerfed Earthquake. Peach outspeeds to set up Sunny Day, having the damage of Quagsire's follow-up Aqua Tail. Then I go for a Toxic, which misses. Okay, well thankfully no crit from Earthquake means that we're safe to stay in for another turn and connect with our second Toxic. Next is setting up a Wish as Peach continues to eat some pretty soft Earthquakes. But his job is done now, so King Boo comes in on another Earthquake and gets back to full HP from the Wish, meaning he's now safe to set up Stealth Rock as Quagsire goes for Recover. A turn of Protect lets some toxic damage build and gives me a safe switch to Daisy as Quagsire once again just goes for Recover. With Levitate, Daisy is immune to Earthquake, so it's safe to set up a Sunny Day here, though Quagsire just keeps going for Recover. But then it's time for Mario's glorious debut, who will never go down to a waterfall now that the sun has been set up. Though that ends up being just really overly cautious since Quagsire appears to be stuck in a perpetual Recover and Toxic cycle. Even with a Rindo Berry, Grass Knot is now enough to KO Quagsire after he's taken toxic damage, so the second Pokemon that comes in is Gyarados. With the 25% from Stealth Rock, a Thunderbolt is just enough to get the KO through his held Wakan Berry. Stealth Rocks also circumvents Sharpedo's Focus Sash, so another Thunderbolt scores Mario's 3rd KO of the match. Floatzel comes in 4th, but also falls to an Expert Belt boosted Thunderbolt. Poliwrath is too bulky to be one-hit KO'd, so I switch to Petey, who eats a Hypnosis that gets restored by a held Lumberry. In this game, Venusaur has Thick Fat instead of Chlorophyll, but we're still fast enough to outspeed Poliwrath, set up a Growth, and comfortably eat an Ice Punch that will never freeze in the harsh sunlight. So with that, we can take the KO with a +1 Energy Ball. And all that's left is Ludicolo, but after getting some cheeky damage with a Life Orb boosted critical hit Fake Out, Petey knocks him out with a super effective Sludge Bomb, winning us the 5th gym badge. It's at this point in the game where Renegade Platinum starts to outstay its welcome just a bit. Don't get me wrong, I love this game, but the next few gym splits have a lot of mandatory side fights that end up being a little tedious. Before getting to the 6th gym leader, there's a fight against Dawn on Route 210, a fight against Cyrus in Celestic Town, and a fight against Castle Valet Darich at the Pal Park. I don't know who that is either, but he has a freaking Entei. There's also a fight against Chris and Canalave, a fight against Riley on Iron Island, and finally a multi-battle with Riley against a few Galactic grunts. All of it ends up being pretty straightforward with the right amount of prep, so let's just jump to the fight against Byron for badge number 6. And despite having lost a Pokemon to this guy in the past, he is undoubtedly the easiest gym leader in the game. Goomba uses Flamethrower to one-shot Bronzong, Steelix, and even his part Rock-type I forgot about Aggron's Focus Sash. That was pretty stupid. But at least I had the foresight to play around my own stupidity and give Goomba a Focus Sash, because that would have been really bad if he went down there. A man can only lose a Pokemon to Byron so many times before he starts questioning his decision to do this for a living. Anyways, Lava Plume also one-shots Fortress, but with Bastiodon out, I switched to Diddy on an Iron Head. Then a quad-effective close combat gets a clean kill, bringing Magnezone out last, who also gets one-shot by close combat. Good game, Byron. Good game. Now it's time for another slew of mini-boss battles, including rematches against all the Galactic commanders. But at this point, I've got them figured out, and there's not a whole lot that they can throw at my team that would surprise me. Looks like Drayano gave Saturn's Bronzong a bright powder.
Are you a sicko? What is this?
Okay, well, other than that, there's not a whole lot the Galactic commanders can throw at me, and it isn't too long until we've made it to Snow Point City. Here, I need to first trek into the Snow Point Temple and help Maylene and Candice put Regigigas back to sleep, which is pretty messed up, isn't it? Regigigas is being forced into an indefinite sleep, because apparently their existence burdens everyone else. But is Regigigas inherently evil, or just misunderstood? Should Regigigas be punished just for being born? Imagine being put into an involuntary slumber. You pray that you feel nothing and it feels like only a moment has gone by. But even so, as you go under, you have no idea if or when you'll wake up again, and what world you'll wake up to. Is it ethical to make one Pokemon sleep indefinitely so that others can live better lives? The citizens of Omelis may say yes, but do you, viewer? Is the suffering of the few worth the comfort of the many? Where do we draw the line? What sort of utilitarian hellscape has Drayano created? Candice leads with Abomasnow, and I lead with Goomba, who easily gets the KO with a Flamethrower, though permanent hail being set up is a bit of a problem. Fortunately, Walrein comes out second, so I go for a Sunny Day. The harsh sunlight and a held Pasho Berry ensure that Goomba is perfectly safe to Walrein's Surf. Then it's off to Bowser Jr., who can set up an Agility and hit Walrein with super effective Grass Knots. All we gotta do is eat a Sleep from Yawn, which gets healed by our held Lumberry, and the blubbery Sea Cow goes down. Bowser Jr.'s Steel typing baits in Mamoswine next, so we can get a clean kill with Flash Cannon. And then Flash Cannon also one-shots Frostlass. Glaceon is holding a Bright Powder and knows Earth Power, so to be safe I switch to Bowser as Glaceon goes for Double Team, which would be annoying if Bowser didn't get access to Aura Sphere, which never misses. 2 hits later, and Candice is down to her final Pokemon, Weavile. Since she has a Focus Sash, I switch to Diddy on a Swords Dance. Fake Out breaks the sash and causes a flinch, which means that on the next turn, we can take the KO with a quad-effective priority Mach Punch, winning us a clean battle against the 7th Gym Leader. But now it's time for the hardest part of the game so far, the climactic finale against Team Galactic at Spear Pillar. First is the devastatingly tricky multi-battle fight against Mars and Jupiter. Both of them have full teams, meaning that I've got to prepare for 12 Pokemon with only 6, all the while being at the mercy of whatever my rival Chris decides to do. With so much variability in this fight, it's nearly impossible to map out a surefire game plan. The best bet is to be a little more aggressive with risking crits, target one side over the other, and hope that things work out. So that's what we're gonna do. I really need Chris to bring his A-game here. Mars and Jupiter lead with their Crobats, I lead with Mario, and Chris leads with Staraptor. I kick things off by immediately getting the KO on Mars's Crobat with a Thunderbolt. Jupiter's sets up a double team, but that doesn't stop Staraptor from ripping a massive Brave Bird that brings her into the red. Mars sends out Bronzong, so I switch to Daisy. Crobat takes the kill on Staraptor with a Brave Bird, which generously knocks her out in the process. Then Bronzong whiffs the Earthquake, baited by Mario. Chris brings in Arcanine second, so we're touting double fire types as Jupiter sends out her Ace Skuntank. A crit from the stinky dog will do huge damage, but Daisy has a focus sash, so I decide to stay in and set up a sunny day, which ensures that Arcanine's Flare Blitz gets a clean one-shot on Bronzong. Teamwork makes the dream work, baby. Skuntank then generously misses a gunk shot, so things are looking good as Yanmega comes in next. She goes for a detect, which I predict by targeting Skuntank. And Daisy decided to show up for this fight in a big way by landing a critical hit for a clean one-shot. Pretty awesome. But now Yanmega gets a speed boost as Sableye comes in for Jupiter. This next turn is a little risky because Yanmega now threatens a lot of damage with speedy hurricanes, but I decide to stay in. Mars goes for a second detect, which fails, but we can't capitalize on it because Sableye hits Daisy with a fake out. Arcanine opts to hit Sableye with a Flare Blitz, which is a little annoying because I'd rather him take out Yanmega, but at least it's enough for the KO in the sun. I was kinda planning on targeting down Mars's team first, but all of a sudden Jupiter is down to just half her team. Gastrodon is out next, but with Daisy's secondary dragon typing, she can't hit us for super effective damage. Yanmega takes the kill on Arcanine with a hurricane, so I use the opportunity to snipe her down with another flamethrower before she starts firing off powerful hurricanes onto my side of the field. Gastrodon simply whiffs an earth power clearly meant for Arcanine, so then Chris brings in Breloom and Mars brings in Electivire. I stay in for another turn to nail Gastrodon with a one-turn solar beam as Electivire goes for a super effective fire punch into Breloom. Thanks to his focus sash, he survives and nails Electivire with a bullet seed, which only connects twice. Bronzong comes in for Jupiter, so I nuke them with another flamethrower as Electivire goes for the kill into Breloom. Chris brings in Snorlax and Jupiter brings in Tangrowth. So Daisy gets yet another kill into Tangrowth with yet another flamethrower, officially making this a 2v1. Electivire does slam Snorlax with a nasty cross chop, but the Beefcake holds on with a sliver and kills the part fighting type monster with a super effective Zen Headbutt, which leaves Mars with just 2 more Pokemon. The first is Kangaskhan, who goes for a fake out to kill Snorlax as Daisy uses Roost to get back to full HP, and more importantly to restore her focus sash. Heracross comes out as Chris's 5th Pokemon as a flamethrower from Daisy does a massive amount of damage to Kangaskhan, but then she targets down Heracross with a body slam that paralyzes and then immediately triggers a full paralysis. So it's Daisy who takes yet another KO with flamethrower on the following turn. Perugly comes in last, so I switch to Bowser Jr. A play rough kills Heracross, which causes Chris to bring out his final Pokemon, Empoleon. Hell yeah, brother, let's penguin power this kitty into oblivion. Perugly can put us to sleep with hypnosis, but only one at a time, so with Chris's Empoleon acting as bait, we can fire off a nasty Scald. A Citrus Berry brings Perugly back into the green, but on the following turn she just whiffs a hypnosis, and Bowser Jr. fires off a second Scald, which just barely doesn't kill, but does get the burn. So as Chris's penguin snoozes, Perugly succumbs to burn damage, and we've won the hardest multi-battle fight in the game, completely deathless. Except for 5/6 of Chris's team, but he's not doing a hardcore Nuzlocke, so it's fine. In all seriousness, having Chris's Pokemon bait so many attacks from Mars and Jupiter's Pokemon was pretty incredible. I did not think I was going to be able to knock out 7 Pokemon with Daisy the Charizard, but here we are. Anyways, next up is the final fight against Cyrus. Team building is tough for this one because you need to have a handful of HMs to navigate your way through the distortion world. Oh, and he starts with a double battle where you have to fight a level 70 Dialga and Palkia. It's not as bad as it looks though, these guys have 0 IVs across the board, but since the actual fight against Cyrus happens immediately after this and you can't make any changes to your team, it does make planning out this fight significantly harder. The strategy I came up with involves Waluigi and Diddy. That's right, Sceptile fans, his glorious day has come. Diddy can use Fake Out to flinch Dialga, letting Waluigi fire off a massive Draco Meteor into Palkia for a clean one-shot. The only thing scary about this plan is that Draco Meteor misses 10% of the time. We have a Focus Sash on both of our Pokemon here, so there was sort of a contingency plan, but it's really nice to see Waluigi come in clutch here. With Palkia dead, Waluigi can now nail Dialga with a neutral Dragon Pulse, which should do just enough damage to... Oh my god, Waluigi. Pop off, King. Well, the world's most overkill close combat finishes off that little sliver of Dialga's HP, meaning that it's off to the actual fight against Cyrus's full team of 6. He leads with a choice-banded Crobat as I'm forced to lead with Waluigi again. A detect reveals that Crobat has locked himself into Cross Poison. Both Cross Poison and Brave Bird kill here, so it was a 50-50 chance of whether he locked himself into either of those moves, and Cross Poison is by far the easier of the two options to deal with, because it means that I can comfortably switch to Bowser Jr., who takes no damage thanks to his steel typing. I can't actually go for the kill here because Magnezone would come in next and lock us in with Magnet Pull, which would result in a very crispy Penguin very quickly. So instead, I hit him with a Yawn. Then I wait for him to fall asleep, making sure not to attack on the off chance I accidentally crit and get the kill. With Crobat properly asleep, I switch to Mario, who proceeds to obliterate half of Cyrus's team. Crobat goes down to a Thunderbolt, Honchkrow goes down to a Thunderbolt, and Gyarados goes down to a Thunderbolt. With our Focus Sash, it's safe to stay in and attack Weavile, but it's better to switch to Diddy on an Icicle Crash that just misses. Then Fake Out breaks his Focus Sash, and a Priority Mach Punch gets the KO. Magnezone comes out 5th, but he falls to a close combat, and then even though Cyrus's final Pokemon Houndoom has Intimidate, he's frail enough for a close combat to still get the KO, winning us a shockingly easy battle against Cyrus for the last time. I'm feeling on top of the world. Sinnoh has been saved, my run is completely deathless, and we are just one incredibly easy gym battle away from getting to the Pokemon League. Volkner's electric types are very simple. All we gotta do is set up another sweep with Luigi. So against his lead Jolteon, Mario uses Fake Out to break his Focus Sash. After a Captivate to lower Jolteon's special attack, I bring in Luigi. A Grass Knot does some solid damage as I set up a Rock Polish, but then I notice something strange. I'm not gaining back any HP here, which means I definitely forgot to give Luigi leftovers, which I usually do when I'm trying to set up with him. This isn't a huge deal for this fight, but I should probably see what item I did give him. Well, obviously that's just about the worst item I could have seen since it makes setup impossible. I used Choice Scarf Luigi to plow through all the gym trainers, and I guess in my hasty preparation for the gym leader battle, I completely forgot to remove it. So this fight just got really difficult and I'm gonna have to improvise. I start by switching back to Mario on a Grass Knot, then it's back to Luigi on a Shadow Ball, and after eating another Grass Knot, we can kill Jolteon with an Earthquake. But then we got a dip because Rotom Heat comes out second. I switch to King Boo on a massive critical hit overheat that does over 50%. Not fun, but with leftovers and Protect, we can regain some HP. And it appears that we're baiting Will-O-Wisp now, which grants me a free switch to Diddy. Once he's out, I can use Fake Out for a bit of chip, and then switch back to King Boo on a baited Thunderbolt. And I can repeat this process a few times until Rotom is at low enough HP to be cleanly killed by a close combat. So third is Rotom Wash, which means that it's off to Yoshi on a Hydro Pump. Draining Kiss does a good chunk of damage and gets Yoshi back to nearly full HP as Rotom counters with a Thunder Wave. On the following turn, Rotom opts for a Shadow Ball, which crits, though at the very least Yoshi breaks through Paralysis and takes the kill with an Energy Ball. So fourth is Luxray. I switch back to Diddy on a Fire Fang, and taking advantage of that sweet Dark type that Luxray gets in every single Romhack ever, close combat gets a clean one-hit KO. That brings in Raichu, so it's off to Waluigi on a quad-resisted Surf. And then Dragon Pulse is enough for a 2-shot as Raichu simply whiffs a Focus Blast. So as Volkner sends out his final Pokemon Electivire, it looks like we might be able to make it out of this folly in one piece, but it is going to require just a little bit of luck here. I switch to King Boo on an Ice Punch. A freeze here and it's over, but no freeze comes out. After getting some HP from a cycle of Protect and leftovers, it's time to dodge a critical hit. King Boo does live a standard close combat, but if it crits here, he's dead. And unfortunately, with the state of my team, I have no other choice. So I brace for impact as the mighty Electivire fires off his close combat. But King Boo survives, and with one last Earthquake, he gets the kill on Electivire, winning us a needlessly scary 8th and final gym badge. That was incredibly stupid and could have gone way worse. I'm proud that I was able to steer out of my unforced error with minimal luck, but this is a good reminder that patience is one of the best skills a Nuzlocker can have. Especially in ROM hacks, these challenge runs are an endurance test. and rushing through things is a recipe for disaster. This fight was at the tail end of an entire day of playing this game, and the results of hours of gameplay is that I was tired and reckless, and I made what was almost a catastrophic mistake. But nevertheless, my team pulled through, and after defeating the few mini-boss fights along the way, we've made it to the Pokemon League completely deathless. The penultimate challenge of this run is the final fight against my rival Chris. In attempt 1, he was able to kill PD with a critical hit, the only time in this challenge that I've lost a single Pokemon, so now is not the time to underestimate my opponent. Chris leads with his Choice Scarf Staraptor, so I lead with Mario, whose matching Choice Scarf means that he can outspeed and get the KO with a Thunderbolt. That brings in Snorlax, so I switch to Diddy on a super effective Earthquake. Don't worry, he had a Focus Sash. A bit of chip from Fake Out, followed by a close combat, is enough to take out the monstrous wall, bringing in Empoleon third. But sadly, his Steel typing means that Diddy can score a second one-shot with another close combat. Fourth is Heracross, and he obviously doesn't go down to a close combat, but he does go down to a Fire Punch. You may have noticed that I've skipped all the rival fights throughout this playthrough. This is why. Monkey Strong. Against Arcanine, I first switched to King Boo on a Flare Blitz, then switched to Toad, who's holding a Focus Sash, and finally kill with a Waterfall. So last is Breloom, who is walled by PD and knocked out with a single Sludge Bomb, winning us the battle against Chris. Which means I can turn my attention to the Elite Four. In Renegade Platinum, each member of the Elite Four and Cynthia all have 4 possible teams, and which one they use is completely random. There are some repeat Pokemon on multiple teams, and their aces will always be the same, but this variability makes team building for the Elite Four significantly harder since your 6 Pokemon need to be prepared for every possible team. It's very stressful. But here's the final team I decided on, all leveled up to the level cap of 75 to match Lucian's Gallade. We've got Luigi, the king of setup, Daisy, the powerful dragon, Bowser, the weather setter, King Boo, the tanky beast, Goomba, the fiery nuke, and Mario, the electrifying rodent. Let's see if these 6 starters have what it takes to become champions of Renegade Platinum. First up is Aaron, and it doesn't really matter which team we get because every single one of his Pokemon is eviscerated by adaptability eruptions from Goomba. We have a Choice Scarf equipped to ensure we outspeed any of Aaron's Pokemon with Choice Scarfs of their own, and that's about it. There is one team here that has a Focus Sash Beautifly, which would have required a little bit of finessing at the very end of the battle, but since we get one of the other 3 teams, Aaron is defeated in 6 easy eruptions. So second is the Ground-type trainer Bertha. She leads with Hippowdon, revealing one of 2 potential teams. Either way, step 1 is to switch Daisy out for King Boo. Daisy was for the potential Tyranitar leads. Since Bertha just set up Stealth Rocks on the switch, King Boo is at full HP as we set up rocks of our own. We eat an Earthquake as a result, but then it's off to Luigi, and from here, go ahead, guess. 1 Rock Polish and a few Swords Dances later, and Luigi is set up to sweep Bertha's entire team. Seed Bomb kills Hippowdon, Glysaur, Whiscash, and Rhyperior. With a held Rindo Berry, Donphan actually does survive 1 hit, but all she can do is nail us with a soft Play Rough. So after a full restore, another Seed Bomb takes the KO. And then last is Golem, whose Focus Sash gets broken by Stealth Rock, letting us get a 6th and final 1-hit KO for the win. 2 down, 2 to go. Flint is third and reveals that he's got his Torkoal team. This guy has a Focus Sash, so we'll need to be careful, but by leading King Boo, I can bait him into using Solar Beam, which becomes a 2-turn move as I change the weather with Rain Dance. I use Protect to avoid getting hit by Solar Beam, and then Waterfall brings Torkoal down to Sash as he goes for another one. Instead of taking the KO, I decide to go for Protect so that Flint wastes a full restore on the following turn. I also want to time this right so that when I switch to Bowser, we can get the permanent Rain from Drizzle. It does mean that we have to take an Earth Power on the switch, but that's fine, because Rain-boosted Surf now comfortably kills Torkoal. Houndoom comes in second, but since Bowser has a Choice Scarf, we just outspeed and take him out in 1 shot as well. Arcanine also gets outsped in 1 shot. Typhlosion has his own Choice Scarf, so he outspeeds, but simply charges up a Solar Beam that he'll never get off. Magmortar will survive a Surf, so I switch to King Boo on a Thunderbolt. This forces him to use Solar Beam, letting me get another clean kill with Waterfall. So all that's left is Drifblim, who with perfectly accurate Hurricanes is still a little annoying. He lands a Will-O-Wisp, which means that our follow-up Waterfall doesn't even do 50%, but it is enough to be able to switch into Mario on a resisted Hurricane, who can then use her own perfectly accurate move to snipe Drifblim out of the sky even through her Wakanberry. So, just like that, Flint has been defeated. Which means that last, but certainly not least, is Lucian. He leads with an Alakazam holding a Focus Sash, so the first thing I do is have Mario break it with a Fake Out, and then I start spamming Captivate. A Focus Sash ensures that we're good to hit at least one, but because Alakazam goes for Thunder Wave first, we can actually get off two. Which means that for the last time in the run, Luigi is safe to set up with Swords Dance and Rock Polish. A combination of Earthquake and Crunch one-shot every single one of Lucian's Pokemon, cleanly winning us the fight against the final member of the Elite Four. So all of a sudden, we've made it to the very last fight of the run, the battle against the champion Cynthia. She's got 4 very threatening teams, and our matchups are better against some of them than others, but all we can do now is hope to finish this challenge strong. Cynthia's lead reveals that her team consists of Togekiss, Garchomp, Glaceon, Milotic, Spiritomb, and Lucario, which is pretty ideal, because we can kick things off hot with a Choice Specs Eruption from Goomba that immediately knocks out Togekiss. This also immediately baits in Garchomp so we can take care of her early. I switch to Daisy, who's immune to Earthquake, and then with a Life Orb Dragon Pulse, we can get a clean one-hit kill on Cynthia's Mighty Dragon. Feels pretty good. And even better, Cynthia brings in Lucario next, who also falls to a Flamethrower. Oh, and so does Glaceon. Milotic doesn't, so it's time for Daisy to dip, but not before setting up a sunny day. This lets Goomba come in on an Ice Beam and then nail Milotic with a Choice Specs boosted one-turn Solar Beam. It's not enough for the kill, but Milotic can't one-shot with Scald thanks to the weather. And then, after Cynthia heals, Goomba makes his case for MVP of the run by connecting with a critical hit for a clean one-shot. So the final Pokemon of the run is Spiritomb. And nothing bad ever happens against Cynthia's Spiritomb, right? I decide to switch to Bowser as our foe goes for a Calm Mind. This is probably fine. Bowser is quite bulky and Spiritomb isn't particularly strong, so we're good to take at least a few hits here. A massive rain-boosted Water Spout drops her into the yellow, activating a Citrus Berry that brings the Soul Collective back above 50%. Then she goes for another Calm Mind, which is starting to make me a little worried. I fire off a second Water Spout that leaves Spiritomb with just a sliver, meaning that she can get off a rest. Because of pressure, we're down to our final Water Spout PP, so depending on what Spiritomb pulls with Sleep Talk here, this could get pretty bad pretty quickly. But Bowser lands a critical hit Water Spout, bypassing Spiritomb's Calm Minds to knock her out from full HP, winning us not just the battle against Cynthia, but the entire run. This was a really fun challenge. It was a blast to play through Renegade Platinum again. I cannot recommend this game enough. I want to give a huge shout out to Drayano here, who's been a generous supporter of the channel and a lovely member of the community for quite a while now. I love playing his Romhacks, and I'm excited to try out more themed runs like this in the future. I've got some ideas simmering, but let me know what you'd like to see in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. Or don't, I don't know. But I do know that you should check out the sponsor of this video, Holzkern, using the link in the description down below, and apply my code FLAGON15 at checkout for 15% off your purchase. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.